almost like it felt like the playoffs never ended. So that, at least to me, that's what it felt like. I know. No, I think, I got to remind me about Shohei. He's got a pretty far homer off me last year, so I kind of laughed that one off. They put
本日5月23日からドジャースと地区首位でリーグ全体でも2位のブルワーズの3連戦が始まりました。ブルワーズといえば昨年のプレーオフで大谷の伝説のリアル二刀流勝利、3本塁打、10奪三振などでドジャースが4連勝で勝ち切ったチームです。3連戦直前にブルワーズの現クローザーのチャドパトリック選手が番組にゲスト出演し、意気込みや大谷との対戦の思い出を語りました。訳しましたのでご覧ください。
Got Brewers pitcher Chad Patrick joining us right now on FT. Chad, great to have you on the show. Appreciate the time. How's life right now with the first place ball club?
It's great. Locker room's pretty happy, and we're looking for more wins.
Yes, plenty of season left to go. Well, let's start here because you're matching up this weekend against the Dodgers. Last year, the team swept them in the season series. We were talking about this earlier, and then the Dodgers swept the Brewers in the postseason. Do you treat these just like, hey, this is part of our marathon season to get through? Do you look at it as any kind of litmus test when the guys are talking, right? Like, you're not living and dying off one series in baseball. That's never the case. But do you kind of look at this series and go, hey, let's see how we match up against the Dodgers this year?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the last series we had against the Cubs. It almost like it felt like the playoffs never ended. So that, at least to me, that's what it felt like. I know in this series it's probably going to be treated the same as as far as matchups and playing them. So I think it's going to be a fun weekend.
I'm looking at these numbers here from when you were a starter, now reliever. I know it's not, over a course of a year, but these are unbelievable, man. If you're talking about K percentage from 15% to 33, and then walk percentage 12 to 4, like what has been the difference from you being a starter, now a reliever? Like, have you changed anything, or is it kind of the same approach that you've had as a starter when you go into the game? Like, talk to me about your thought process there.
I think the first part of it is when you make the transition of being a starter into reliever. I think you got to kind of get over yourself and not look at it in a negative way. And then secondly, don't look at it as a demotion. Look at it as another opportunity to do special things in special situations. I had a lot of conversations with a couple guys in the clubhouse, and so many different things were said, and you take those things into your head, and I like to journal now, and I take away from the negative aspect of the game and jot those down before I go out for the game, and it helps a lot.
First, always been the just cutter first guy. Were you that way in college, or was that something you learned when you joined the organization? And then, like, how much has watching Corbin Burns taught you about how you should be approaching pitching?
So actually, I never even threw a cutter my whole career up until Single A and Hillsborough. We went to it. So I got traded, or I pitched a whole season in 23, got traded to the A's. We had some kind of conversation about it, and then we kind of moved on from it. And then I got traded to the Brewers, and my first bullpen, they were like, hey, we really want you to call this thing a cutter because, it's a cutter. And I was like, all right, that's fine. We can call it a cutter. And then in 24, it it changed the whole aspect of how I approach hitters. Instead of thinking about, what a sweeper or slider looks like, I was thinking about how I can envision, a cutter. And now I just have, thrown it my whole career so far up here. And so yeah, they kind of changed the mindset on it. And as far as Corbin Burnes goes, he's got our cutters are different. He throws his off of like the four seam laces, but just watching him locate it and throw it anywhere he wants is pretty special.
Yeah, this is good ball talk. Well, I'm going to ask now a more basic fan question based on quotes from your manager, who's a good friend of the show, Pat Murphy. When he brings up those lines every once in a while about like, the team of no names, and we just want some people to maybe know who we are and all of that. Christian Yelich has been a good player in the league for a long time. Jackson Chiro is one of the most exciting young players. Your boy Contreras is a great young all-star catcher, etc. Right? Like we can go down the line and come up with a number of players, both on the pitching and position player side, that have made a name for themselves. Do you guys laugh when you see those quotes, knowing his style and how he says most things in jest, and often he keeps that same face on, but then he'll give you a line that's hilarious? So just specifically for that kind of line, because he dropped it again recently, do the guys see it and joke like, yeah, no one knows who we are. Like he's got an MVP. He was in the All-Star game last year, etc.
Yeah, I just, it's Murph, he's always throwing some type of quotes out there. But I just think, it's more so of like, we're kind of like an overlooked team because we're such a smaller market in that sense. So as far as, saying that like no one really knows, who we are, I just don't think we get the sort of attention in that way.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, this weekend's a good example. The Dodgers certainly get a little bit more attention. They also happen to have one of the best players of all time, who's an international icon, makes like $100 million off the field, right? Like that's a factor too. So I know you feel that, right? When you take on a team like the Dodgers, they've got a lot going for them on the international scene. That's not really Milwaukee's game right now. It's more of the local vibe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, I got to remind me about Shohei. He's got a pretty far homer off me last year, so I kind of laughed that one off. They put a plaque up there. I kind of want to take a picture in front of it. They didn't say who it was off of, but.
Oh my goodness! Shohei Ohtani! Wow! Up and over the roof!
That's right.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Hey, what's it like facing him? Like when you're going up against him, we don't need the full scouting report. Obviously, we hear it all the time on the broadcast and we read about him constantly. But like, what is it like facing him, just from the perspective of, hey, you're a pitcher, you're facing a hitter like him, what's unique about the way that he's at the plate?
I don't know what the difference is between him and everyone else is, but I wasn't, too, we'll use the word nervous or anything. I didn't approach him any differently than I would have any other hitter. But as far as like, I threw a pitch in and it just seemed like the ball exploded off the bat differently. It was loud, he's a good player, and that's what happens. So I got nothing. He's different.
That's a way of putting it. When people ask certain things, you say, hey, listen, it's different, and you move on. But is there
ever been played in the history of baseball against us in the last game of the, because you're just like, yeah, man, like, what are you going to do? And had a front row seat to like, that's going to be a historical baseball game. Like you might not ever see that happen ever again, especially in the postseason.
a guy right now that, two-part question, is there a guy that, well, I'll just do one part here, a guy that when you face, he just seems to have your number right now. Is there anybody out there in your career as of right now? Is there a dude that's just like, man, I just can't find a way to get this guy out?
Honestly, I can't think of anybody off the top of the head. I think about the guys that I can get out.
Yeah,
Right. The dig me video. Yeah. You want it on the reverse.
Oh, he's also not, we can't ask him who he owns either. He doesn't want to say that stuff. He wait till you're retired to say that, and then you say it all the time.
We need all that juice.
Yeah, in 10 years, we can talk about that when you're on the show and be like, all right, let me run through what I did here. On that note,
He's only able to muster 3 hits. What a game here on a Friday night.
0 for 7 with runners in scoring position for the Dodgers on this night.